Have you ever wondered if the vegetables in your cart are giving you less than you think? For generations, grocery stores have promised freshness in tidy piles under bright lights, shaping how we shop without a second thought. But what if the produce you trust is not the produce you should be taking home? Today at the Hidden Menu, we take a deep dive into which vegetables to leave behind and where to find the ones worth bringing home. So let us start with 1. Walmart. There was a time when Walmart's produce section was a point of pride for budget-conscious shoppers. Under bright overhead lights, rows of apples gleamed, bags of potatoes were stacked high, and bins of tomatoes looked like they had just rolled in from the farm. For working parents, retirees, and anyone trying to stretch a dollar, the idea of buying fresh vegetables at low prices was a powerful reason to shop there. But many customers now say the vegetable aisle tells a different story. Reviews and online discussions are filled with familiar frustrations. Heads of lettuce with browning edges, zucchini that goes soft within 48 hours, and broccoli that's already yellowing before it's cooked. Former Walmart produce employees have explained that the chain's massive distribution system, designed to keep prices low, can mean vegetables travel thousands of miles and spend long periods in transit or storage before arriving in stores. By the time they hit the shelves, they may already be nearing the end of their prime. Some stores have increased the use of prepackaged vegetables, which makes it harder for shoppers to inspect what they're buying and can hide damage until it's too late. Others have reduced the volume of open display produce, replacing it with smaller bins that are easier to keep looking full, but may be replenished less often. Customers have also noticed that while prices may seem low at first glance, the weight or quantity in each package can be smaller than at other stores, meaning the per-pound cost isn't always the bargain it appears to be. One longtime shopper described giving up on Walmart's bagged spinach entirely after finding it spoiled, well before the printed date on multiple occasions. Another shared a story about a bag of green beans purchased for a weekend dinner that had to be thrown out after just 2 days due to mold hidden inside the package. The store's marketing still leans on images of crisp, farm-fresh produce, but for many shoppers, the experience is quietly different. The disappointment isn't dramatic. It's the kind that settles in slowly every time you open the fridge and find that the vegetables you counted on are already past their best. It leaves you wondering if the low price is worth the cost of replacing food more often, and whether the promise of everyday low prices still means what it used to in the produce aisle. 2. King Soopers. For decades, King Soopers has been a familiar anchor in Colorado communities, a store where produce displays once greeted shoppers like a friendly handshake. People remember the smell of ripe peaches in summer, the satisfying clunk of a melon being tested by a careful hand, and the unspoken promise that what you brought home would be fresh, nourishing, and worth the money you spent. The produce section was a gathering place, the first stop for parents with children in tow, retirees doing a careful weekly shop, or young couples starting the habit of cooking at home. But in recent years, customers have noticed changes that don't always meet the eye until the vegetables are already sitting in their kitchens. Reviews describe bunches of spinach that turn to mush after a single day in the fridge, cucumbers with soft, watery spots hidden beneath their glossy skins, and avocados that once cut open reveal dark streaks in the flesh. Some shoppers say it feels like a gamble. One week everything looks good, the next it feels like a race against the clock to eat what you've bought before it spoils. Former employees have explained that corporate-level changes to delivery schedules mean produce might now sit longer in storage before being put out, especially in lower-volume locations. Misting machines keep greens looking vibrant under the store lights, but they can't restore freshness lost in the days before arrival. Several customers have pointed out that local labels on signs can sometimes be misleading, with items coming from hundreds of miles away, local to a distribution center perhaps, but not to the shopper picking through the pile. Some of the charm has been replaced with convenience-driven packaging, vegetables pre-bagged in quantities that hide blemishes and make inspection harder, leaving customers to discover imperfections at home. One longtime shopper shared that they had stopped buying certain produce entirely after repeatedly finding carrots that went limp overnight and bell peppers that looked healthy outside but were already shriveling inside. Prices have risen too, and while that's true across the industry, it stings more when the vegetables don't last as they used to. The King Soopers name still carries a sense of home for many, a place tied to memories of family meals and neighborhood routines. But for those who pay attention to what they bring to the table, there's a growing unease. It's not a loud disappointment, just a quiet erosion of trust that leaves you wondering if the produce you remember has been replaced by something more about appearance than substance. 3. Kroger. For generations, Kroger's produce department has been a welcome sight. Bright, colorful, and brimming with seasonal offerings that made a weekly grocery run feel less like a chore and more like a small pleasure. Shoppers recall the smell of ripe strawberries in early summer, the deep orange of autumn pumpkins, and the careful arrangement of fresh greens near the entrance, setting the tone for the rest of the store. But in recent years, the experience has been less consistent. Reviews from regular customers often mention bunches of kale that wilt within a day, onions with hidden soft spots, and fruit that looks perfect but lacks any real flavor. Former employees have said that corporate changes to ordering and stocking schedules have reduced the number of produce deliveries, meaning vegetables can spend more time in storage before making it to the shelves. While the chain still promotes fresh for everyone in its advertising, some shoppers feel that freshness is now more about presentation than reality. The increase in prepackaged, ready to cook vegetables offers convenience, but can hide imperfections, like peppers with internal mold or pre cut melons that taste bland, despite their bright color. Prices on certain vegetables have crept upward, narrowing the gap between Kroger and higher end competitors. Yet the quality doesn't always justify the cost. One shopper recalled picking up a local bag of apples, only to discover the label indicated they were from another state entirely. Another described buying a pre-packed salad mix that was already breaking down by the next morning. It's not that fresh produce can't be found at Kroger, many shoppers still have good days in the aisle. It's that the risk of getting something past its prime seems higher than it once was. The result is a slow shift in shopping habits. Fewer impulse buys from the produce displays, more caution, and a subtle erosion of the trust that makes grocery shopping feel straightforward. The Kroger brand still carries the weight of tradition, but for those who've noticed these changes, there's a quiet recognition that the produce section no longer feels quite as dependable as it did in years past. If this is making you side-eye your vegetable drawer right now, drop your most tragic lettuce story in the comments, give this video a polite little thumbs up, and subscribe so we can keep peeling back the layers. No onion tears required. 4. Safeway. Safeway has been part of the American grocery landscape for generations. The kind of store where shoppers remember picking up fresh vegetables for Sunday dinners or family barbecues, trusting that what they saw piled in neat rows had just come in from the truck. The produce aisle was once a point of quiet pride, with apples polished until they gleamed and crisp heads of lettuce that seemed to promise crunch in every bite. But in recent years, regular customers have started sharing stories that suggest the experience is not what it used to be. Reviews mention bags of carrots with slimy ends before the week is out, cucumbers turning soft within days, and lettuce with hidden rust spots under its outer leaves. Former Safeway produce staff have explained that some stores have shifted to receiving fewer deliveries per week, meaning vegetables might sit longer in distribution before they are even placed on the shelves. The misting machines keep greens looking vibrant for shoppers passing by, but they cannot restore the vitality that fades when produce is stored too long. There has also been a noticeable increase in prepackaged produce, spinach in plastic tubs, chopped onions in sealed bags, which can make it harder for customers to inspect quality until they get home. One shopper recalled buying a bag of mixed salad greens for a special dinner, only to find the bottom layers already decaying the next morning. Prices have risen across the board, and while that is not unique to Safeway, the frustration is sharper when the vegetables do not hold up past a day or two. Even the store's locally grown signs, meant to inspire trust, have raised questions. Some items labeled as local were from hundreds of miles away, according to past employees who say the label often refers to a broad, regional supplier rather than a nearby farm. The store still looks clean and inviting, the displays arranged with care, but for many shoppers the trust has shifted from unquestioning to cautious. You still walk through those wide aisles, hoping to fill your cart with food that will nourish and last. But there is a quiet doubt now, one that makes you inspect every tomato, every pepper, just a little longer than you used to. 5. Food Lion. For many families in the Southeast, Food Lion has been a dependable stop for generations. Familiar, affordable, and close to home. Older shoppers remember the produce section as a reliable source for vegetables that would last the week, with bright displays of corn in summer and leafy greens in winter. But lately, regulars say the experience can be hit or miss. Reviews speak of green peppers with soft patches, broccoli that begins to yellow within 2 days, and bagged vegetables with expiration dates that feel optimistic. Former employees have explained that while deliveries still arrive regularly, the chain's emphasis on cost control can lead to stocking produce that is already past its ideal freshness. Some items, they say, arrive from suppliers after long transport times and are placed directly on shelves to keep displays looking full, even if quality is not at its peak. Shoppers have also noticed more prepackaged produce replacing open bin options, a shift that can make it harder to judge ripeness or freshness before purchase. One longtime customer shared a story about buying pre-cut butternut squash cubes for a quick dinner, only to open the container and find a sour smell that sent the whole thing straight into the trash. The pricing can be appealing. Weekly specials on common vegetables are still a draw, but for some the value is undercut when items spoil too quickly to be eaten. Even the store's loyalty program promotions, which often highlight produce deals, do little to address the root concern: freshness. Some shoppers now approach the produce aisle like a careful gamble, weighing the convenience of proximity against the possibility of waste. The store's name still carries a neighborly familiarity, but for those who have noticed these quiet shifts, there is an unspoken understanding that shopping here now requires a sharper eye and a backup plan for when the vegetables do not hold up. 6. Aldi. Aldi's reputation has long been built on offering low prices and a streamlined shopping experience, with no-frills displays and a rotating selection of seasonal produce. For many budget-conscious shoppers, the vegetable section feels like an easy way to fill the fridge without overspending, and there's a certain charm in the simplicity. No elaborate signage, no endless variety, just the basics at a good price. But over time, customers have learned that those low prices can come with trade-offs. Reviews often mention inconsistencies in quality. A bag of green beans that's crisp one week might be limp and browning the next, or a carton of grape tomatoes that looks perfect in the store can taste watery and bland at home. Former employees have explained that Aldi's supply chain is designed for efficiency, with large shipments coming in and going directly to the sales floor, meaning that when the timing is right, vegetables can be remarkably fresh. But when it's off, items that are already aging make it to display. The smaller store footprint means less storage space, so vegetables are often stacked high in their original shipping boxes, which can hide issues until the package is opened. Shoppers have noted that while Aldi offers a double money-back guarantee on spoiled items, the inconvenience of returning them can outweigh the savings, especially if you needed those ingredients that night. One regular recalled buying a bag of spinach that looked fine on top, only to find slimy leaves underneath just a day later. Seasonal specials like asparagus in spring or pumpkins in fall still generate excitement, but the consistency from week to week can vary sharply. The chain's model encourages quick decision-making. You grab what's there before it sells out. But that speed can make it harder to pause and check everything carefully. For some, the gamble is worth it, but for others, the disappointment of bringing home vegetables that do not last has led to a quieter, more selective approach. Aldi still delivers on price and convenience, but in the produce aisle, it's a game where freshness depends on luck as much as timing. 7. H-E-B. In Texas, H-E-B is more than just a grocery store. It's a part of daily life, woven into routines the way a favorite cafe or a well-loved park might be. Families talk about it with a kind of pride, pointing out how the produce section smells faintly of citrus in winter and ripe melons in summer. The displays are broad and open, with bins you can dig through instead of sealed packages that hide what you're getting. Reviews from longtime shoppers often highlight the consistency of quality. Peppers with tight, glossy skin, spinach that stays fresh for nearly a week, tomatoes that taste like tomatoes instead of water. Former employees have shared that the chain's buying strategy plays a big role in this, sourcing heavily from regional farms and rotating stock frequently, sometimes multiple times a day. That speed means vegetables aren't just coming in on delivery day. They're constantly refreshed as the day goes on. Many stores also offer field to store, labeling that specifies not just the state, but the region of origin, adding a level of trust that isn't just marketing talk. One shopper described picking up corn in the morning that had been picked the afternoon before, the husks still damp from dew. The prices aren't always the lowest, but the value is there in how long the food lasts and how good it tastes when you cook it. Even seasonal specialties are handled with care. Spring asparagus that still snaps when you bend it. Summer berries that are firm and fragrant. The produce section feels alive in a way that makes you want to linger. Maybe pick up something you hadn't planned on because it just looks too good to pass up. For those used to gambling on freshness elsewhere, the reliability here feels like a quiet luxury. The kind you appreciate most when you unpack your bags days later and find everything still in good shape. 8. Wegmans. Wegmans has a reputation that borders on legendary for those who have one nearby, and much of that comes down to its produce section. Walking in, it's impossible not to notice the sheer variety. Rows of vegetables in shades so vivid they almost look staged. Misters sending a fine spray over the greens while staff move constantly to restock and rearrange. Customers often talk about the sense that someone is paying attention, that the displays are not just for show but cared for throughout the day. Former employees have explained that the chain invests heavily in training produce staff, with strict standards for what gets put out and what gets pulled. That means vegetables with even slight blemishes are removed before they hit the floor, rather than being left for shoppers to sort through. Wegmans also works closely with local farms, particularly in peak growing seasons, so vegetables aren't traveling as far or sitting as long in transit. One regular shopper recalled buying zucchini that lasted nearly 2 weeks without softening, something they'd never experienced elsewhere. Prices can run higher than at discount chains, but shoppers say it feels worth it when they're not throwing food away after a couple of days. Even prepared produce, like pre-cut squash or washed greens, tends to hold up longer, which customers attribute to the freshness of the source product. The layout encourages exploration, with seasonal displays at the front and smaller specialty sections highlighting unique items like heirloom carrots or purple cauliflower. Wegmans makes produce feel less like a checklist item and more like something to look forward to. And for many, that turns a routine grocery trip into a small but meaningful pleasure. 9. Publix. For many in the Southeast, Publix is more than just a store. It's a place where you're greeted by name, where the floors are polished and the air in the produce section carries the faint scent of citrus and fresh herbs. Shoppers often remark on the neatness of the displays, the way the vegetables are rotated so the oldest stock is always at the front, and the fact that staff seem quick to offer help if you're hunting for something specific. Reviews consistently point to the freshness of common staples, crisp lettuce that lasts well into the week, bell peppers with a satisfying snap, cucumbers that stay firm days after purchase. Former employees have said the chain's commitment to freshness isn't just talk. Deliveries arrive multiple times a week, and there's a focus on smaller, more frequent restocks, rather than flooding the shelves and letting items sit. That practice means vegetables spend less time in storage, both in the back room and in transit. One shopper told of buying strawberries that tasted exactly like the ones from their childhood garden, sweet and fragrant enough to perfume the car on the way home. Publix also partners with regional farms for seasonal items, giving shoppers the chance to buy produce picked within days instead of weeks. While the prices can be higher than at warehouse or discount chains, customers often feel the difference in how long the vegetables last, and in how good they taste when they finally make it to the plate. The store's environment plays into it too. Clean, well-lit aisles and uncluttered displays make the vegetables feel more inviting, almost as if you're shopping at a small neighborhood market rather than a regional chain. For those who care about the quality of what they bring home, that mix of consistency, care, and freshness makes the extra cost feel less like a splurge and more like an investment in meals that taste the way they should. Before you head to the store again, tell us in the comments which produce aisle has surprised you most, give this video a quiet thumbs up if you learned something new, and subscribe to the hidden menu so you never miss what is really growing behind the scenes. And remember, the truth is not always on the menu.